Chapter 2, Blue Temple, 2. Almost 100 fire eagles were spread across the floor. What the fuck is this? Fuck, fuck, fuck. Wawa, mommy. Cries and curses existed everywhere. All of the fire eagles had been killed, but so many humans had also died in the process. Including Muyang, 51 people had arrived at the temple. However, only 38 people were currently alive. 13 had died from fighting the fire eagles. Quite a few survived. Although he couldn't remember the exact number, not nearly as this many people had survived back then. At most half. It was definitely different from the past. Of course, it was mostly because Moyan alone was able to clear about half of the number of fire eagle. A watch with a strange shape appeared on their left hands. There was only a pentagram on the face of the watch which didn't show the time. Status viewers were very important. If it was not a person you completely trust, you should never show them your watch. If you lose it, you can steal someone else's and overwrite it, but then you will lose your entire history you saved up. Therefore, it was best for you to not lose it if you could. Muyang remembered looking at the watch of the people he had killed. For some odd reason, his only hobby was collecting these watches. Thanks to this, he had more information than anyone else. He even assassinated people who were thought to be impenetrable. As he turned the small bump on the side of the device, a hologram only viewable to the user appeared. He first looked at the abilities. And then, the hologram changed to show something else. Achievement effect - a none. Class effect - none. Strength 11, 10 plus 1, agility 13. Stamina 9, intelligence 9, wisdom 8. Special note, none. As he had equipped the scimitar of strength, his strength increased by 1. If it wasn't for the scimitar, his strength would have only been 10. These stats were incomparable to the ones he had in the past. But he didn't care. If he could just think over his past, he knew he could get stronger faster than anyone else. Prize equals water producing magical item, food supply for 5 days, an unknown item, known only by the owner. Prize equals rank E plus weapon, options available, food supply for 4 days. Third best hunter, Oh Jayung, for fire eagles. Prize equals rank E weapon, options available, food supply for 3 days. Does the system only show the name I remember? Muyang was the name appointed to him during the days he was a trainee at the Forest of Death. He remembered using a totally different name when he was a university student in the past. As a side effect from the continuous brainwashing and drugs, he had forgotten a lot of important information. Being Moyang is enough. He shook his head slightly. The choices he would make in the future were more important. What he had to do, what he was going to achieve. The name was a minor part. A little later, 3 items appeared above his hand. Water-producing magical item, food supply for 5 days, and the extra reward of paranormal have been received. These magical items were talismans that held different kinds of materials and mysterious skills. Unlocking the seal of Lemigitin didn't only release the 72 demon gods. The laws overruling this world changed and different types of magical items were created everywhere. This was arranged by Solomon. The hope of humanity forcefully created to give strength to those who fight against the 72 demon gods. Not bad for the first earnings. The water-producing magical item will surely be helpful from now on. Not just in the Blue Temple, but in the underworld, it was always hard to find fresh water. Muyang concentrated on the yellow talisman he had and information relating to the object appeared. Name, water-producing magical item. Rank, D. Classification, continuous use. Effect, able to produce 10 L of water every day. Even though there was a 10 L limit, it was still a lot for him to drink by himself. All the items were ranked from EX, S, A, B, C, D, E, F, in order from the best to the worst. If an item was D ranked, then it was one of the best items you can get in the beginning. Not to mention it was a magical item. The food supply for 5 days appeared in a small box. Inside there were loaves of bread under a preservation spell. Muyang gazed at his bonus item. Paranormal. An accessory with a spell. Were you able to get something like this at Blue Temple before? Paranormal was a red ring. Name, paranormal. Rank, D. Classification, a keepable type. Durability, max 5 times, 5/5. Effect. For 10 minutes, the user can choose to increase all their ability +2, use Healing Wave, or Firebolt. As he looked at the information, he nodded his head. Depending on when he used it, it could be quite the game changer. In a dangerous situation, the item could be used as the deciding blow. The fact that it was much harder to find decent accessories than weapons made paranormal an amazing treasure for now. As he wore the accessory on his left hand, people came up to him. Excuse me. 2 women and 5 men. From the group, the man who was standing in front of them spoke. A group has already been made. It was an action worth applauding. The man instinctively knew they had to stick together to live and wanted him to join them. You seemed quite calm. Are you experienced? What if I am? Of course. My name is Kim Taehwan. And your name is? Kim Taehwan. I knew I saw him somewhere. He was second in the previous ranking. Looking at the sharp longsword he was holding, he probably chose it as a reward this round. Are you referring to me? Yes, as there is no one in front of me besides you. Kim Taehwan impudently laughed. But, Muyang didn't feel like getting involved with them. So he replied briefly. Yongsa, 1. Taehwan's expression stiffened. Taehwan would probably think that he was being played around with. Even though he wasn't going to treat him seriously, he thought about the word continuously before telling him. In the past, Muyang killed a countless number of people. From the people that he killed, there were soldiers and people who could have been recognized as heroes. For example, the Dragon Lord who tamed a magical dragon and Queen of Frost Wind, Kim Hannah, and so forth. If those people were to be alive today, the humanity would not have been destroyed that easily. They should still be alive. They were few of the toughest opponents I had to assassinate. Especially the Dragon Lord, it took him a whopping 3 years. The magical dragon that was by his side was one of the strongest monsters in the underworld, with great perception. Even the Dragon Lord himself was one of the top 10 human beings living in the underworld. Therefore, even 3 years was considered quite short against someone like him. Anyhow, he will not deny the things he had done in the past, but he now has the chance to change what he had done. Since he now had the chance, Muyang decided to live a more meaningful life this time. Yong-sa. Then what is your last name? Lee Yong-sa? Park Yong-sa? Was he saying that to joke with me? Muyang turned away. My last name is Yong. First name is Sa. Anyone who saw them would know that he was ignoring him. You're funny. However, Taehwan laughed. Muyang was now admiring him in his own way. This dude. He will survive quite a while. Even in this situation, he decided to laugh. When he thought about it, the Blue Temple in the past might have had someone like him. However, Muyang didn't really care. Even from the beginning, he wasn't someone who could socialize well with others. Nor did he ever have the time. Depending on how one used their time in Blue Temple, it will drastically change their starting point outside of the Blue Temple. Only the people who use their time wisely will be able to survive the underworld. Also, it was the only way to dodge the hands of the Forest of Death. Unlike the past, he refuses to be kidnapped helplessly. As Muyang started to walk away cold-heartedly, the other people around Taehwan Kim started to get enraged. Hey! Yong-sa? Wow, Mr. Kim, just leave someone like him alone.
Yeah.
He has no basics. As Taehwan Kim decided to follow him, the other members of the group tried to stop him. It seemed that these people have formed a group with Taehwan as the core and had already agreed on a few things. And as they were pushed to their limit, there had to be someone who they could place their hatred on. As Muyang heard their fuss, he just shook his head. It's not like grouping up will be best for them. If you couldn't trust each other, it was best not to group up. In reality, didn't most of the 9 great guilds and the 5 great clans get destroyed because of their internal conflicts? They were unable to trust each other and later they were unable to trust themselves. If this was the case, then how can a group of people trust each other when they just met each other? As time passes, the intensity of trials would only get stronger and within these people, there will be some who had hit rock bottom. He would rather act alone than to see them in that state. First, I need to build my body. The body that he had right now was very shabby. With this body, he couldn't achieve anything. The Moyang in the past had seen a great number of other people's histories to know the way of attaining important items, only available at the Blue Temple. Secret classes. Normal people were only able to achieve 1 class. However, Moyang was able to get 4 different classes with different tendencies. The leader of the Forest of Death called it universal type characteristics. This allowed him to act freely in any situation. In the past, through the leader's policy, he had attained the classes of warrior, mage, ranger, and priest. Now, if he was to learn 4 different secret classes, he would be an expert with no apparent weaknesses. Secret classes were so powerful and dangerous that Solomon decided to hide their existence. And one of the classes was available in the Blue Temple. If I remember correctly, it was the Necromancer class. There was a person who threatened others using an army of undead. The lunatic necromancer, Kim Gil-young. By himself, he killed thousands of people, made the dead join his force and developed even greater strength. When fighting a large group of people, it was a class with an absolute advantage. Even so, Moyang slit his throat. During a war, he used his extreme hiding abilities to creep up to him and cut his throat. Drunk on blood, it was his fault not being cautious. Afterwards, Moyang remembered taking his watch to look at his history. First, I need to get the Necromancer class. Instead of allowing Gil-young Kim to get Necromancer class, it was much better to keep it for himself. 1. Yongsa means soldier.